This is Marshall Lee of Donkey Jaw Projects. Hopefully you can hear me. There's nothing that shows if the audio is working or not. But hopefully you're hearing me. Let me know if you are. Today I just figured I would hang out and do my SHEcember art as I go. And I got like this sketch I did. I don't know, I could ink that and call it done. But I think maybe I'll play around with the prompts a little bit. Right now I'm just trying to get to the chat on my computer so that I can monitor a little easier. And it doesn't look like it's quite showing up. I mean, I can monitor here as well, but you know, it's a little easier if it's on the computer screen. Doesn't want me to click it. Show live chat messages. Alright. Maybe it's not showing anything because there's none. I don't know that I love the quality here that's coming out with the drawing, but I guess it doesn't matter that much. Apparently, it says, congrats, you now have access to the YouTube Studio Beta. Try now. I tried it, and I don't know if I love it, but I don't know. I'll play around with it sometime. Alright, so let's see what the prompts are. Like I said, I wanted to get the thing going. Maybe I can find it under live streaming. I wanted to see if I could get the comments on the screen so it's easier for me to see. SHEcember 2 live. Day 2 live. Do. The health is good, thanks. I'm glad the health is good. Can I just see the thing? Create highlights while live. Okay, whatever. I don't know. I just want to see the video. Okay, I think I can see the chat here, so we'll see if anybody is in here. Well, nobody is, but it's early. I'm an early bird. I mean, it's not that early. It's 10:30 almost, but on the East Coast of America. And so, you know, people probably aren't even up. Most artists tend to be night owls. I am not most artists. That's for sure. Alright, so we got today's prompt for the there's two prompt lists. One I originally made, and some people were having problems not liking the way I did it because I did it a little different than other challenges. So I made another one that's a little more simple and normal, but I like both prompt lists. So number 2 for the simple one is hidden, which I've already seen some people do some really cool stuff with. And for the original prompt list, her face was hidden. Okay, so it's really the same thing. But there's also the prompt with her mind, which was the first day, which was really kind of cool. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's some sketches I did before I did my final drawing yesterday for laugh was the prompt for the basic one. And then did some more sketches and finished one as well. So there's that. Let's see. I really hope the audio's coming through. The first person who comes in, hopefully they'll let me know. Because I'm using like a different headphone thing. Oh, come on. I always have a little sharpener around here somewhere, but today, for some reason, it doesn't happen to be in my bag. brand new one. I bought like all these ones from like the dollar store. They work just as good as every other sharpener I've ever used. So maybe even better than some. I think it was from the dollar store. It's probably less. It was probably Ocean State Job Lot for less than $1. Actually, I don't know if I want to use pencil or not, but I did just sharpen that, but hey. What I kind of want to do today is practice cartoony styles. So, because this I could do all day long, like drawing from a picture, which is what I did with that and with all these right here, but then this one was like from imagination. And then there's this other one that I want to ink at some point too, of Furiosa from Mad Max. And that one was from kind of a lot from reference and from imagination. So it's weird, like I figured out the gesture. I think I might have got a gesture from reference, and then I kind of wrapped all the Furiosa details around that gesture instead of, you know, whatever it was. So, you know what I should draw from is Alita Battle Angel if it's within... Well, I have the computer right here, so I could do it. I really like that character, and I was thinking I kind of wanted to draw her. So let's try that. Let's see, maybe I should search... I'll search in Google Images. Adobe Creative Cloud keeps trying to interfere because I just restarted my computer and it's like booting up, and I'm like, I don't care. Why do you have to make me pay attention to you? I'm not interested right now. Alright, let's see. Alita Battle Angel. Come on. What's his name? Yokiro or something. He's an amazing artist. The guy who created and drew Alita. One of my favorite. I'm not like a huge like manga or anime like fan. Like when I say huge, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't follow it like a lot of people do. But I do get a lot of influence from it. Well, I like what I've seen, you know, from a lot of stuff, and I do enjoy it from time to time. One of my favorites is Alita. I also, you know, like the classics like Akira and Fist of the North Star, things like that. And whatever else I get my hands on. I watched the live action Death Note recently and really enjoyed that. Let's see what else. I feel like I drew Alita recently too. I mean, I kind of did. I did like this little sketch. Looks like we got possibly a couple people watching. What's up? Whoever is there, feel free to chime in. Let me know if you hear this, please, because yeah, I was doing this. This was a little like me just playing around with like a stylized version of Alita, but I never like went any more in depth with it. I feel like I actually drew her though recently too, but I don't know. Anyways, yes, I hear you. Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. Again, feel free if you have any questions about the challenge, the SHEcember challenge, which you know, I created and am currently planning to do my day 2. If you have any questions or anything you want to chat about, feel free to hit me up. That would be cool. So yeah, I get stuck drawing from reference a lot, and it's kind of a trap for me. And I want to draw more cartoony. I'd like to draw, well, I don't know, I want to find my style of how I draw. Um, and I want it, I want it to be not from reference. I mean, everything you draw is from reference, technically. But, I want to be able to draw. I mean, I can do it. I draw my own comics and stuff, but I want to get better at that aspect of it. And it's like when I am using reference, I feel like I'm tied to it too much, and I enjoy it, but I want to be more comfortable with kind of going between reference and not reference. Um, so yeah. So and also just like simplifying, like when I do like a little sketch or whatever, like these and these, like if I could take something like this but then simplify it, which I can sort of, but I want to do it more. I want to get better at it. I want to practice it a lot. So let's see what I can do. I'm going to practice from some Alita drawings, and I'll just start with one of the first ones I see here. Now let me see if I can pull the chat up on, pull this out as its own thing, pull this out as its own thing, so I can kind of keep an eye on the chat better through the computer. There we go. That works. Nice. Alright. Sorry for the delay in drawing. Alright, here we go. So you're supposed to, the way I have learned to draw, and the way I believe is, I want to say it's like the right way. But there's no right way necessarily. I mean, the way you draw is if you figure out a way to make it work, then that's the right way for you. But there's a principle that I have found super helpful, and it is recommended by, well, I haven't heard it from a lot of people, but I know it is a thing that's recommended by people, is to draw in a certain order, which is basically gesture first, then do the form. And I'm already messing that up. I do it all the time. I always mess it up even though I'm trying to do it. So let me I did this gesture line, and there's not much to this because it's only like a bust of this character, but yeah. Gesture first. A lot of times people, and this is what I've done my whole life too much, is start working on the detail first. So first, you should focus on the gesture, get that down, then start adding the form, the basic shapes, like the circle for the head, and right here's like the neck, and here's the shoulders. I can kind of put, and as you get better, you begin to maybe kind of combine the steps, not necessarily skip the steps, but some of the steps kind of end up being more in your mind. But as somebody who's learning, I mean, and even a professional should revisit the fundamentals all the time, but as somebody who's learning, you definitely should try, if you can, to stick to that kind of format, in my opinion. But yeah, my difficulty a lot of times is kind of this kind of draw. Even now, like even though I'm copying, a cartoon or whatever, I'm still like, there's two different ways of kind of drawing that, at least that I identify, which is drawing what you see, drawing from reference, really paying attention to what you're looking at. Why do you use blue pencil? It's well, let me just finish this thought and I'll go on to that. So yeah, just the different modes of drawing kind of what you see, and you can kind of, I like myself, I get stuck in that, and um, then drawing like from imagination and stuff like that. And even when drawing cartoons, I can kind of get stuck in drawing what I see. All right, so as far as why do I draw with a blue pencil? I don't always. I do different things. A lot of times I will just use a simple, Bic pen of whatever kind and draw. There's probably tons of examples in this sketchbook. Yeah, I mean, first page, all this stuff, like weird whatevers. I just it's a good way to sketch and not be precious. It's not going to be a finished piece or anything. Um, but when I guess the reason I'm doing with blue pencil is because throughout this challenge, I kind of want to have some pieces, like, I want to have, like, each day post something that's somewhat finished. So a blue pencil is a good way to kind of map out the basic shapes. And, if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Because, and typically, traditionally, why, I learned how to draw especially by observing comic books and learning from people who create comic books and stuff like that, because that's what I want to do, is make, comic books, make stories. That's what I want to do for a living. And so they use blue pencil a lot, because in traditional printing, you start, this is like the undersketch. In traditional printing, you the blue pencil it's known as non-repro blue, like non-reproduce. Like once you scan it in, it's not, apparently, like the way they do it, it doesn't come out, like you don't see the blue pencil, it doesn't register or whatever, in the printing process. So, and I don't understand exactly how it works, because I've never ran a printer like that or anything, but I know that's the concept of it. So artists would draw their first initial drawings in this, and then they would go on with, and a lot of times I skip this step, is they would go on with pencils and tighten it up. And then once they do that, once they're done doing that, they would go, and an inker would come in, or the artist would ink it himself, but usually there was a separate inker traditionally, who would come in and put the finishing touches. And the reason why in comics they ink is, again, the printing process. They didn't have Photoshop and things like that, and computers like we do now, to where you could kind of adjust the pencils to a point where they look finished, and like they come up in print and stuff like that, and color from that. You can do that now, whereas before, you couldn't really do that. So I mean, there was different ways, but comic books were considered like kind of a throwaway story, like pulp fiction and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of a cheap, you read it, you get entertained, and you throw it away. So you wouldn't necessarily be trying to make magazine illustrations, and quality type of stuff. It was printed on newsprint, and the colors were just, basic and things like that. But, in the 90s, a lot of that changed. So, they ended up doing stuff more like illustrated, like really beautiful illustrated art book type style stuff, and it was like, more magazine quality and things like that. And so, now you see a lot more. You see stuff like painted comics, and comics where, you know, they just work, they do something with like the contrast and the saturation, and they just mess with the levels and stuff, and they can take pencils and make color over those, and that can be a finished piece. And I mean, they still a lot of times use ink, or they use digital inks and stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways to make a comic. um, but yeah, but still a lot of artists use blue pencil, and it's not because they're stuck in their ways. It's just a kind of a good way um, to do an underdrawing. And sometimes people will do like both blue and red pencil. It's kind of cool. And then they'll do like regular pencil, and then they'll do inks, like, and it's really good for actually for like comics too. It's something I haven't tried yet, but somebody told me. Actually, one of the people who's doing the SHEcember, I think, pretty sure it was him. Maybe it wasn't. It might have been somebody else, but I feel like one of the guys, Bob Learned, might have told me this. But I've had other people, I've seen it done before, but people do like the people, the characters in blue, and then they'll do like, you know, the background, maybe like a cityscape or something, or whatever the background is, you know, they might do in red, just to kind of separate it for themselves to see, you know, what. And, you know, I'm not ruining this because this is just, you know, a sketch. This is for practice. I'm drawing from somebody else's art, so, you know, I'm not gonna publish this as my own or anything like that. So I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, you know, they would that kind of separates it. It makes it easier to see, and then you can either go over it, you know, in pencil, and really tighten it up nice, and then or you can go straight to inks, and then, or you can, you know, there's different processes you can do. I really want to try doing the red and blue technique with the backgrounds and stuff, because I think that will help me to kind of separate it out and figure it out. So yeah, here's a really super loose sketch of a leader right there. I'm gonna kind of leave that there for now. I really would like to try practicing some other styles too of drawing women. Trying to think of what I could put in the search terms or whatever. I mean, I can just do it myself too. Let's see. One good practice is to kind of, you draw, you know, from a reference, you try to copy somebody, and then you try to do it yourself without looking the same kind of pose, and then you kind of repeat that process, and it starts to help you get learn, you know, how to draw, basically. I definitely recommend it, you know, to others. And of course you can kind of you don't have to be like super strict with it. You can kind of do your own version and modify it to, I mean, that's ultimately the idea, is to learn from other people's styles so you can kind of create your own style using the help of others, basically, who have already figured out, you know, a process that works for them. And you just kind of get like little just little pieces, little tricks and stuff, and then you can take that into your own work. It's pretty natural for people to just do that. I think everybody who wanted to draw has copied somebody originally. I know when I was young, I used to copy like Scooby-Doo picture books and stuff like that, and whatever, you know, I saw, like Garfield, you know, comics from the paper and stuff. So it's interesting. It's like I wonder if they shape it out, the people who do manga and stuff, like these little pursed lips, they're just like super simple. There's like hardly any lines in there, and they just kind of, I don't know, they just put it there. They simplify it. Like people think that, they are really impressed when somebody draws like something super detailed from reference and it looks realistic, almost photorealistic, and um it is impressive. It's a cool skill. But when it comes down to it, that's, doing something more cartoony is actually, I found personally, to be a lot harder. Uh, it's just you have to translate the most important parts to make it come across what you're trying to make come across. And yeah, so that's what I found, at least. So that's kind of my hey, I've practiced what I just saw, so you kind of can compare it. And I just did kind of my own version. It doesn't look as good, but even this doesn't look as good as the original, so. Alright, so it's good to warm up. This is a great way to warm up, is just copying, Let me see if I can fill up these 2 pages with some more warm-ups. So one thing yesterday, I was doing these, trying to do these laughing poses, and it's really hard to know, like, how much to stretch the face, and, so what I noticed was, when somebody's laughing, the way you can simplify it is you kind of scrunch the eyes. The eyes get really, like, squinty a lot of times because, your cheeks, you're smiling, and your cheeks are up. So your cheek muscles kind of come up and they make your eyes look squinty. And a lot, even women, like, I don't like to draw a lot of lines on women's faces, but even women, have little lines under their squinty eyes when they're laughing a lot of times. And then, what you would typically think, like, the way somebody would cartoon that, like, say the typical smiley face, you got, the squinty eyes, and you make it really whatever, and then you put the eyebrows, like, way up here, and, I don't know, smiley faces don't always have noses, really, but I'm trying to just simplify it as much as I possibly can. And then, ah ha ha, mouth wide open, maybe showing some teeth, tongue or something. So this would be kind of, I don't know, like a super simple exaggeration of the SHEcember logo. Or whatever. Maybe you can kind of color in with red a little bit, because people laugh and they kind of blush sometimes. Something like that. I don't know, you could do all kinds of things. But what I noticed is, see how this is curved up? Like, you typically think a smile is, that, So, you open the mouth a little bit. And so there you go. There's laughing and smiling because it's funny. And But what I noticed is a lot of people, when they smile, it's actually more straight or even curved upward, you know? So that's something, you know, you only get from looking at reference. You only find that out by looking at reference. You know, you would typically think it's going to be this. This is the symbol. But what it actually tends to be, like you could even see here, you know, it's more straight or more curved up right there. These were from reference. See, again, more straight. And then here you got that curve like you would typically think, but it's also coming from a downward perspective, so everything's going to be curved down that way until you hit the horizon line, which is probably somewhere around here. Again, you know, this looks like she's laughing and she's happy, but, you know, the top lip is more of a frown than a smile, you know, of what you would typically think. So it's just interesting what you find out when you look at reference. And it depends on how much realism and how much cartooniness you want to bring to it. So I noticed the eyes get squinty, and again, you know, you get these like kind of just some lines around the eyes. Again, when you're drawing women, you want to be very careful about how many lines you put. Now in this one, she had eyebrows that really went up. In fact, I probably didn't draw the eyebrows going up even enough, and she even had like kind of some like wrinkle lines because she's like an older lady. But again, I don't want to put all those wrinkle lines in there. But I noticed, you know, when people are laughing and stuff from the pictures I saw, even sometimes their eyebrows go down a little bit, you know. So that I'm kind of not sure, you know, how to do. Because that almost looks angry. But then when you put the other proportions in, I don't know. Yeah, like from imagination, I'm trying to do it, and it's looking a little bit angry. But here, you know, it goes down, and I did it from reference, and she looks, you know, happy. So there's subtle things that are really hard to get. Even here, she almost looks like she could be angry, because she's kind of looking up from below, and it's like, "Rrr." But you see this part of the face, and you're like, no, she's just laughing and squinting. You know, maybe she's laughing and making fun of somebody, so that could be a subtle thing. When did I start to take seriously in art? Man, I've done some video recently, where I was talking about that a little bit, and you know, I showed my nursery school art. Actually, it's not even nursery school, it's like daycare. So I was like really young, and even back then I knew, I was like, I loved the arts and crafts portion of the day more than anything, and I would skip out on going outside to do my, you know, arts and crafts. So even then I knew there was, you know, I really liked doing art things. But I kind of got distracted a lot in my life, and there was time where I was pursuing music more than art, and there was a long period of that time. So, but when I was in high school, I definitely took art very seriously. I took every art class I could take, and I even, you know, was gonna probably try to go to art school. But my faith also became a big part of my life at that time, so I actually ended up going to Bible school for a little while. And then, you know, I went into the military. A lot of just different things happened. I was in the military for a little bit, and I just wasn't as focused, and it wasn't until I started listening to podcasts, where I kind of found my love for comics. And I mean, I always still love comics and stuff, but that's when I was like, all right, let's finally make my first comic, and let's stop farting around, and let's start, you know, trying to make something real of this, you know. So that's kind of when I first, I don't know, it is kind of a gradual progression of when I got serious. Like, I was always serious about it, but you know, I got more and more serious as different things happened, and now I'm at a point where it's like I'm getting older and I don't have a lot of time, and the thing that people seem to respond the most to with my stuff is my art, not my music as much. And it's just something that I really enjoy, and so I'm going with art, and I'm just gonna make that's my serious, you know, goal now. Um, and I'm really gonna be working hard on in 2018 to get comic stories out and stuff. So yeah. All right, so let's see. I do want to still kind of fill up these pages a little bit with, you know what, I want to draw more full body stuff though too. So let's see if I can find like a full body shot of Alita. Kind of practice from that. I guess this one will do. Let me do it over here. I have more room. Sharpen up this pen. I find that I do better. Some people do use like less sharpened pencils to kind of just get the basic shapes, which I'd like to do, but I feel I if it doesn't start to look good quickly, then I get frustrated. So I'm sharpening my pencil. What are your idea in day 2 in SHEcember? I'm not really sure what I'm gonna end up putting as like my finished, this is my SHEcember thing, but I mean technically, you know, you can, for SHEcember, you can even just do these sketches and that's good enough, you know. It's really just trying to learn how to become a better artist, but I am gonna try to do like a finished piece, and there are the prompts, which I said earlier, but I already forgot. Oh, the prompt is hidden today, so you know, I could maybe do something with that. I've already seen some people do some cool stuff with that, which is really neat. And I also, the prompt for the original list was with her mind. I really like that, so I feel like I want to do that at some point. So I'm not really sure. I may even just go and ink this one of these pieces I already kind of did, this one, or this one, and then just kind of call that my finished, you know, SHEcember thing. We'll see. I'm gonna keep trying to fill these 2 pages up. I got a little bit more space, and then see where we're at from there. But yeah, you can do anything really. Alright, so again, like I was saying before, it's important to get the gesture, and right now I'm copying from an Alita drawing, and this gesture is kind of complicated a little bit, but I'm gonna try to do it. So it's kind of this whole thing where she's like jumping, almost looks like she's floating, but knowing her character, I know she doesn't like fly, so as far as I know, I mean, I haven't read every comic, but maybe there's a point where she has like rockets or something, but I don't think she floats if she does fly. So now I kind of got the gesture, and now I'm gonna start adding the forms. A big part with gesture, sometimes I forget to do this at first, but getting the shoulders and the hips is really good. Get those lines in there so you kind of know the angle. So I got the head. The head's a lot of times in different drawings is like kind of tilted opposite of some of the other gesture, which is kind of interesting. And then it goes down like this, and then the hips kind of go like this. So that gives it more dynamic, because it's like this is different than that. And that happens a lot with really cool gestures, in my opinion. I see it a lot. So the ribs are kind of like this. They kind of jut out this way. And then her pelvis. And again, if you watch my kind of tips and tricks video, there's kind of this idea of using these triangles to kind of help. And so here we kind of got this triangle going on, and then the hips kind of form this triangle like this. So you see there's like a pinch here, and then there's a stretch here. So the ribs kind of come out like this. This is just building up the form. And then for the breasts, it's really helpful to kind of do this heart shape, this like inverted heart shape. Helps me at least. Instead of like drawing circles, because that's not natural. So you kind of draw this shape. That helps me. I always forget the arms too. This is what the arms are doing. It's kind of like this thing here. It's got this curve this way and then this curve that way. I want to ask on day 26, it's a bit early, but what is a ton? Oh, that's interesting. Where are you from? Maybe ton isn't a word you guys use. It is kind of a weird prompt, isn't it? Sorry about that. I'm not a professional prompt maker. But ton is it's a unit of measurement. So like in English in America, it would be it's kind of an expression because it's a huge measurement. Like an elephant is like I think a couple tons. Like that's how heavy an elephant is, or I don't even know. It might be like many tons. I don't even know. But so it's a very large, very heavy unit of measurement that you would use for like a car or something. But as an expression in America, it'd be like, oh, this weighs a ton, even though it's just something that just seems heavy to you. So that's all it is. So basically, that day, you can kind of draw something that indicates a heavy weight. 1,000 kilos is in the metric system. There you go. Thanks, Jan. And 100,000 in money in Holland. Huh. Interesting. What's up, Jan? How you doing today? Alright, so here, I got these triangles and I'm just building the form still. She's wearing like a jacket, so there's kind of like a tube situation going on here. And let's see, she's got like this collar that kind of comes out. It's kind of really cool how it's designed. The collar kind of comes back up here. And then her hair. And then her hair again. It's good to get the basic shape of hair. I'm not great at hair, but that's what everybody says, and so that's what I keep trying. It's good to get the basic shape of the hair. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It helps form the face too. Jan's doing good. The house costs 2 tons, huh? Interesting. That's an expensive house. Well, I guess it's kind of typical around my area. I think around 150 to 250 is like a typical house. Maybe 250 is more typical. I don't know. I haven't looked in a long time. Running around fixing up the house. Ah, I gotcha. Then joining for day 2. Cool. Heart-shaped breasts. Good thing to know. Yeah, it's helpful because the thing is growing up in the 90s, they just kind of went crazy when it came to breasts, and it was just like, they would draw like, oh, okay, there's a woman, and I'm going to draw her breasts. There it goes, two circles, because breasts are circles, right? And then it would look like fake breasts, and it would be unnatural and not my style. But, in real life, breasts hang, and they have more of a, like a teardrop. That's another way people, they'll say it's more like two teardrops. But I like to use the heart method. But yeah, I mean, they droop. They're a little more, they're thicker on the bottom and they taper up, type of thing. And obviously that people, women use bras to shape it so that and to support it, so that it doesn't, you know, kind of look too droopy, I guess is the point. I don't know. So there's that. Do 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 do. So I like natural, even in real life I just like natural, I like things to look natural. Like even my wife, like she's already naturally beautiful and she doesn't need makeup, that kind of thing. But she likes to put on makeup and that looks cool too. But, I'm very happy to see her without makeup as well. I tend to prefer natural in, men, women, whatever, just the look to me is more interesting. One of my favorite actresses, Meg Ryan, she's beautiful, and she at one point got plastic surgery, and it kind of was frustrating to me because I'm just like, why would you do that? And she ended up looking kind of silly. I think it's turned out to look a little better now, but she didn't need it. She was already beautiful, and unfortunately, a lot of women, most people are kind of insecure, and when you are in a Hollywood and you got plastic surgeons all over the place, they might be doing it for money, they might just it's just part of the culture, suggesting, oh, maybe you could do a little lift here or whatever. I feel like that's what a lot of actresses kind of they come victim to. They because they're already looking at themselves hoping to look good for the camera. I mean, it's a visual medium, so it's understandable, but it's frustrating, to me when somebody who's already, you know, and even if whatever, like I just don't see the need to modify, how you look, unless obviously there's certain instances where you might get into like a car crash or something, and it might be better. You may desire to, do that. I could see that for sure. I mean, I'm not judging anybody for their decision. If they want to do plastic surgery, cool. It's up to you. But um, that's what I tend to prefer is natural. Do do do. Gravity. Yeah, exactly. Don't forget, in the 90s, a lot of artists also end up using reference for figure drawing that had every woman standing around in a model pose in comics. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You ain't lying. Now, in the original drawing, this part right here where the hips are, it's just like a straight line, which is cool. I mean, and it does look like that sometimes on a younger body, which this, Alita is a young woman. I mean, she's like a robot, but she's meant to be like a young girl, so it does make sense. It's another thing with young girls, you kind of don't want to draw, the breasts or anything because it's just not there yet, depending on how young they are generally. Um, or even obviously some people just don't develop that much in that area. Um, but like I like first of all, I like drawing wide hips. It makes it look feminine. That being said, not everybody has wide hips. So it is what it is. It also might be a kind of an art crutch for me because I'm still kind of new at drawing women, and so I'm maybe not comfortable enough drawing smaller hips yet. But I'm getting there. And you know, it's like I lean on the large hips because it's more obviously feminine, but again, not everybody's shaped differently. Um, so, but because I'm trying to figure out how to draw people feminine, it's like a crutch for me. But I would like to be able to draw somebody who maybe has more manly proportions in some ways, but still make them look feminine. Because I want to be able to draw all shapes and sizes, you know. I mean, you never stop wanting to learn or you know, as a creative person, as an artist, you know. So at least I don't. I want to get better and better always. So yeah, I mean, I think that's as far as I'm gonna take this sketch. I don't want to, you know, go too crazy. Gotta go check back in later. Time to fix the boiler. Oh boy, that doesn't sound fun. I'll see you later, man. Thanks for stopping in. So, let's see. What should I do to kind of finish out this session? I think I am just going to ink one of these, because why not? And I think I'm going to do, maybe I'll just do this one, because it's fun. I'm going to pull this camera back a little bit. Sorry for the shakiness. Look away if it makes you feel sick. It's only going to be for like a minute. I have this kind of weird camera setup which bends, like the arm really bends a lot. It's actually pretty cool because it's so flexible, but it can be kind of hard to adjust. It like molds. But I made this hair like super ridiculously tall. I just like close my eyes at one point. This happens to me a lot, where I'll maybe be looking at a lot of Instagram pictures or Pinterest or whatever, and I'll just like close my eyes and an image will pop in my head, and it's not anything I saw, but it's just like this weird original image amalgamation of stuff I was seeing, I guess. Don't worry, when I use a camera, I'm shaky. Yeah, happens to the best of us. So I'll just like close my eyes and there will appear like this weird idea for like a monster or something or a character. And sometimes I draw them. A lot of times it happens because I don't close my eyes until I go to bed. So it happens like right when I'm going to bed, and it's like, I want to draw this, but I'm tired and I have to go to work in the morning. And this is what happened here, but I actually had time to draw it, so I was like, yes. And I went for it. So I'm gonna ink it. Do. This was the day before the beginning of SHEcember. Weird idea pop out when I go to sleep or walk. Weird ideas pop out. Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. Yeah, the ideas seem to come at the most inconvenient times. A lot of times in the shower or when I'm driving. Times when I can't pull out a pencil or a pen and just doodle something. But it is how it is. Sometimes I feel like that, like creativity and stuff, it's like, I always think of like the idea of like catching butterflies, which I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's like you can't like make the inspiration happen sometimes. You just have to kind of wait for it to come to you, and then once it's within your reach, if you can capture it, then it's like cool, you know? I often draw like black people's hair like this, like just like this big block of darkness. And then like a little bit of a rim thing, and I don't know, it's kind of annoying. I want to learn how to draw it better and differently, Sometimes it'll be like kind of a variation of that. And you see this one right here is kind of more of a variation. This kind of has like a Marge Simpson vibe to it, with the hair. I think it's kind of a cool design. I might even actually make this into a character in one of my comics, because my Glyph comic is like this whole like hip hop world. So, you know, it would probably work well in that. And it's always good, like, when you're creating characters, if you ever create characters, to have like a strong shapes, strong silhouette type of situation. When I'm hearing music, yep. I get a lot of inspiration from music. That's one thing I love music for sure. I've done a lot of like fan art on my YouTube channel of different musicians, and I'll probably do a lot more. They inspire me, and it's cool because it's like it becomes like a metaphor for art. Like anything that's not exactly what you're doing becomes a metaphor for what you're doing. It seems like so, like or even just it's just a lesson. Like creative things are universal. So like if I see somebody doing something creative in music, I try to think like how does that translate to art or comics or storytelling or something like that. So yeah, lots of inspiration from music for sure. Do 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 do. I really love these pens for inking. I don't know exactly what to call them. They're Pigma brush pens or whatever. Um, but they have, I think, three sizes: the fine tip, the medium, and the big. I think that's how they say it, big. Um, and they're just really good. They're good ink. It's the same ink as would be in like a micron, so it's something you can kind of, once it's dry, you can, put Copics, illustration markers and stuff over it. Although even that sometimes bleeds, but they're pretty decent for that. Or you can like watercolor over them, and again, sometimes they do bleed, especially if like you're using it like yellow. But it might be just me. I might just not have the patience to wait for it to dry enough. Um, but yeah, they're good ink. As good as you can get from like a kind of a disposable pen. Um, they're pretty good. I mean, I'm sure there might be better ink in some disposable pens, but they're good ink. They're good. The Micron stuff. If you like the Micron ink, they're good. um, and I just like that they're kind of have some different grades of brush. And my favorite is the fine, because the fine isn't actually like a brush. It's kind of like a plasticky. Well, I guess it is a felt tip brush, but you can get like gradation line, like you get super thin lines and then go to pretty thick, there's a good gradation there, so that's why I like that. And then the bigger, I don't really use the big one too often, but the bigger brushes are good for filling in or doing some, obviously more medium work or whatever, outlining. And you can use the regular microns too in conjunction. But I like the ones that flex, like this one, because then I don't have to keep picking up different, pens. I get lazy, I guess, about that. A lot of times I'll end up just finishing an illustration with one size, and then the illustration doesn't look so good because I'm too lazy to, pick up another pen. That's why the brush is helpful for me. Do, 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 do. It's a little bit hard to ink when you're doing these chats because you know, you're trying to talk and your concentration's split a little bit. And sometimes with certain lines, it takes a lot of concentration to get it right. And I just don't do as good of a job as if I'm just kind of listening to something or just doing it in silence. But this is a sketchbook piece, so it's not that big a deal anyway, so I'm not worried about it. It's not meant to be anything substantial. Pigma sure is great, yes. For sure. In my opinion. Do. I need to draw more from just my imagination, but I always feel limited. I don't know. It's just easier to copy, I guess. But yeah, I want to exercise this muscle. I mean, for some people, it's easier to draw from imagination because they don't really draw from reference that much. And that's how I used to be. But I don't know. Once I learned how to draw what I see instead of what I think I see, I kind of got addicted to doing that. And I mean, it's a really great practice to get better, and to understand how things work, and it actually helps your imaginative drawing a lot. But if you're like me and you get too focused on it, then you start not having, the imaginative stuff starts being a little underdeveloped. So you have to purposefully learn things, or else if you're not purposeful about your practicing, you're actually not going to learn anything. You're just going to keep drawing the same stuff you know how to draw, and you'll wonder why other people are getting better and you're not. It's because you're not practicing the things you're not good at. I mean, there's something to focusing on your strengths too, but when it comes to art, unless you just want to draw the same thing over and over, which is fine, but if that's not your goal, you actually have to focus on the things you're weak at to get better. If you have a certain goal, and you can get better. There's no reason why you can't. Some people say things like, I don't draw girls well. Well, that's why I created SHEcember, because I don't draw girls well, so I got to practice it. And what better way to do it than, form a community, because then we can kind of encourage each other, And I hope that's what this ends up becoming, because really that's the main goal of this whole thing. See, like with, drawing black women or something, it's easy to just kind of be like, okay, well, black people tend to have, bigger lips, fuller lips, and, sometimes a bigger nose. So, like, I could draw that way, but then it's going to, like, almost look almost racist, or, like, it's going to look, I mean, I hate to say racist, but it's going to be more stereotypical, I guess. And here, in this is a very stereotypical thing here, sort of. But it was just an idea I had in my head, so I had to, get it down. But, like in this drawing, there's an African American woman, I guess. I don't know if she's American. But, the lips are a little full, but they're actually just as, I don't know, they're actually, compared to some people's lips, they're actually thinner in some ways. And, this was the shape of the nose. It's a little fuller, but I don't know, like, there's definitely women or men, who are black, and they have, thinner features, so it's not always the way it is. So that's where observation is important. One of the many places where observation is very important. It's good to at least know, because like one thing I noticed, like with women, a lot of times you'll see people draw a woman's face kind of with a pointy chin or something. Like maybe this would be the face shape of a woman. Like, I don't know, this is really a bad drawing, but you know, whatever, like, kind of either a rounded or pointy chin. But I notice a lot of women, they have almost like a square, what you would think more like a superhero, jaw, just as much as men do. But so you have to figure out, you have to knowing that is good, it helps you to understand the anatomy. But when you're cartoonizing, that's where it becomes difficult. You have to make maybe the jawline is a little square, but it might be more soft, and it's hard to do with these sketchy lines. But instead of drawing such a strong, angle, you might do it like this or something, or not, or kind of do it so it's there, but it's not going all the way up, so it's like you're drawing less of it or something, and it might make it a little more feminine. That's what I'm learning, at least, but it's hard. All this stuff is not easy to, all these like little subtleties and stuff, Everything you draw is a base reference and just expand from it. Yeah. I kill my breathing to do a one line. Oh yeah. It's funny, like one time like I learned how to shoot guns and stuff because I was in the military, plus there was other times where I just happened to be my stepfather was like went to a gun range, and so they brought me. I'm not really a big fan of guns, but one thing I learned is when you want to aim, and then you like, and then once you're like, you got your eye there, you take a breath in, and then on your out breath, that's when you pull the trigger, and you'll have a better aim. And it's the same with drawing. If I'm really concentrating, I do the same thing, and if I want to get a line just right, instead of just like kind of blah 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 blah, once I want to get that line, I'm like, okay, breathe in, and then breathe out. And that wasn't a good line, a good example, but it helps. It tends to help. Sometimes I end up, when I'm not thinking about it, I'll actually hold my breath to make a line. There's other exercises, you can practice doing ellipses, and it'll help you to get more confident lines. You can also do like draw one point and draw another point and try to draw a straight line. And then you can practice it longer. And it's good to do that even every day, as warm-ups. I don't do it every day like I should, but it's good to do those things. It'll help with your line control if you're doing inking, especially. It's more applicable to inking, I would say. But maybe other stuff too. So, let's see. A lot of times I modify what I actually drew. Like, I draw very loose a lot of times, just like this, and then some of my drawing is more in the inking stage. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, to be honest, but so right there, like I drew the ear and the earring like different than it was drawn physically, because I kind of tapered it so it's smaller here, so it can fit in the earring hole, and I made the ear a little more simpler, and so I adjust things as I'm going sometimes. Kind of forgot to draw the sideburn area. Yeah, draw loose first. Try to. And try to get things a little symmetrical, even though symmetrical isn't always good. But here, I want a little bit of symmetry. But you can see like this goes up a little more, and this one gets hidden behind the coat a little bit, so you'll see a lot of, when you're drawing from reference, you'll see a lot of variation like that you wouldn't, and it informs your drawing. If you draw from reference, you practice. And so here I'm doing that, like that might happen. An earring might kind of come closer to the neck here, but then be blocked out by the collar there. It just, randomness happens, and it makes things look more natural if you kind of put that variation in there. Sometimes you get happy accidents, and sometimes stuff just doesn't seem to work out no matter what you do. And you throw that drawing away and try again. See, I don't like that line I just drew for the neck. It went a little cockeyed. But it's a sketch. Find some of that on my finished work too, though, unfortunately. I'm still learning, still trying to get better. Also trying to avoid like tangents. That's something I learned about late in my drawing development. That should be kind of a basic thing that everybody learns, but for some reason I never caught that lesson. But you want to avoid tangents. And if you don't know what that is, I can probably explain it to you. Line weight's important as well, and I'm still learning very much how to do it. But you typically want to put a little more thickness. I did a little too much right there, but try to even it out. But like underneath, I mean, it depends on where the shadow's going and stuff too, but you kind of learn as you go with that. But certain lines, like you want to keep the lines on the face thinner generally, but like maybe under the chin here, I could make it a little bit thicker, because that's where the light's probably going to come down that way, and so there'll be a little bit of shadowiness there. And also just weight, it gives it an appearance of weight. It gives my lines a lot of variation. Yeah, for sure. What I'm learning too is details and textures. Like, I tend to do stuff a little too simply sometimes, and you'll see that, like, if you see people's cartoon if they draw cartoony, they really simplify a lot. And there's a lot, if you were to look at a picture of something that you see somebody has drawn, you'll see there's so much more detail. When you draw from reference, you realize how much detail there really is in the world, and how much stuff artists leave out. that's where I get hung up sometimes, and I'm trying not to, but I'm having a little bit of difficulty seeing where I should, like, finish her blouse out. Actually, it probably would have been better to have a different kind of shirt, but I'm going with a V-neck here. Just because it seems to work, and I don't want to make it be a tangent with this like necklace thing. I want that to show. So and here again, I want to just kind of indicate the breast shape, but I'm not trying to like go crazy with it. It's tempting to like draw the circle though, you know, just because, like, you know, as artists, I think we tend to want to, like, if we know something is a certain way, we want to draw it. Like I mentioned it in my tips and tricks video, like women don't have ears. And in this example, she does have ears, but obviously women have ears. But, you know, a lot of times, more often than not, they have hats on, or their hair is just longer, generally longer than men, and you just don't see their ears a lot, or you might just see like the bottoms of their ears or something, if anything. So, you know, leave it out. If it's a detail that's not generally there, leave it out, and your art will be better for it, you know, when you leave stuff out, if it's not generally there. But here, like, I could leave these earrings flat, but if I add a little bit of texture, it gives a little more interest, you know. Drawing wrinkles in shirts can prove difficult too, especially when you're doing it from, you know, imagination and stuff. I want to draw more details. Yep. Me too. I really have been enjoying seeing people who draw like really detailed pieces and stuff like that. It's been inspiring because I'm not great at it, so I want to get better, so I look at it a lot more and appreciate it. But there's one cool challenge put out by Will Terry, and he uses this. He teaches like illustration classes and stuff. He actually has online courses at SHEcember.com. Him and Jake Parker, the guy who I started Inktober, and some other people. And he has a class about this, but he also teaches physically in like colleges and stuff, I think, too. But he has this, you know, exercise that he uses with his students, and he brought it, you know, he put it out online on YouTube too. And it's called Draw 50 Things. And I really want to do that challenge. In fact, I kind of did it in my last comic for the 100s anthology comic that will be kickstarted soon. But I didn't draw hands, so I might leave it, or maybe I can put fists there because, you know, obviously there's lines there now. I don't want to mess it up. But in the sketch I didn't draw hands. But yeah, it's basically take an illustration, create an illustration, and then make sure there's one focal point, and then draw at least 50 things in there. So it helps you to get comfortable with drawing a lot of things in one illustration. And in my comic panels, there was a couple scenes where it was like in a thrift shop. So I kind of did that there. But I'd like to like officially do it with just like a straight up one piece illustration too, and then like kind of submit it to that challenge. Which, you know, it's not like a big deal. It's not like it probably won't even get recognized or anything, but still, I'd like to try it just for my own learning and whatnot. So I'm thickening up some lines here to show that kind of shadow and weight on kind of certain areas. And I think I'm doing it right, or in a way that is helpful, but, you know, again, art is more of an art than science. There's always those lines where people are like, well, it's more of an art than a science, you know, for different practices and stuff. But obviously art is too. So again, I'm going to go in here with a little bit of texture. I don't want to go too crazy with texture, because if you put too much detail in texture, then you got to be careful. There's like another thing that Jake Parker teaches, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's like the 80-20 rule or something, or the 30-70 rule. And you want, you know, in your illustration, you want there to be like parts that are, you know, very detailed, and but you want to give the eye a rest as well. So you know, you don't want to put all 100% detail, or else it won't look so good, you know. So, like with this, like there's kind of a lot of detail going on in here, but here maybe keep it somewhat blank, you know. You can maybe put like a little pocket or something. You know. But keep it really simple. You know, maybe here like there's little jeans line, but, you know, don't go too crazy with it. You know, don't put chains. I don't know. It really depends, you know. Again, it's more of an art than a science. Which it is, because it's art and not science. But you want to have areas where the eye can rest. This is an area where the eye can rest, you know. And if I do too much detail here, it might mess things up, type of thing. Or it might not, you know. There's a lot of different tricks with illustration. I haven't looked at the thing. SVS Learn, yeah. I did join it for a little while, a couple times, and I've canceled it just because money. I need, you know. And right now I canceled it because I wanted to restart up my Audible account, because I had some books I wanted to check out. So I kind of switch on and off. And also I've watched most of the tutorials there, so you know, I can maybe go back later and see if there's any more eventually. So this is getting to about done. Oh, I want to finish this collar. But yeah, I think I'm almost about done with my SHEcember for today and for this video and stuff. Anybody who came in, whether you chatted or not, thank you for watching. If you're watching later in the you know, just the after recorded, I forget what you call that, but like it'll post online, you know, for people to watch after the fact. And if you're watching through that, I appreciate you taking your time out. Yeah, that was probably not a good line right there. Oh well. this is my SHEcember for today. I gotta figure out how to get that in a picture that I can put on Instagram. If you're interested in the challenge, in the SHEcember challenge, check out donkeyjawprojects.com/SHEcember. And you can follow the hashtags on Twitter, Facebook, even YouTube. There might be some stuff, and especially on Instagram. That's where people are mostly posting. And yeah, oh, I didn't draw this hand. um, it's a fun challenge, and we're learning how to draw women, or just if we already are pretty good at it, just having fun doing it. I'm not really doing a great job. I'm just kind of indicating hands here, and I'm not great at little hands, so we're just kind of dialing it in there for now, because I didn't draw it underneath. But yeah, I really appreciate you checking stuff out, and follow us, and feel free to participate. You don't have to do the full every single day, to complete it. You just have to do it once, and you've participated officially. That's how I'm doing this challenge. So, hopefully that's encouraging. The point is to learn. For me, the point is to learn how to draw women better. But or just have fun doing it, which I'm kind of doing both. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Higorai, I don't know how to say your name, Higorai or Higore. But I really thank you for chatting with me. It's been fun. And I don't know if I'll do more of these or not. I probably will, throughout the week, the month, do one or two more. I don't know. Might do a lot more. We'll see. But keep your eye open if you're interested. And I do post videos on YouTube all the time. So at least once a week these days. A lot of times I've been doing 2 or 3 a week too lately. So try to be active there. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for everybody for watching. And I will talk to you on the next episode. Peace out.